Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something really challenging. Delhi's air pollution crisis. I mean, it's a city that's thrown so much at this problem for, what, 2 decades now? We're talking things like CNG mandates for public transport, a huge metro expansion, the Bharat Stage 6 fee vehicle norms, which are pretty much like the Euro 6 standards,
Yeah.
right? And yet, year after year, Delhi pops up on those lists among the world's most polluted cities. Why? Why hasn't all that effort worked?
It's a fascinating puzzle, isn't it? A classic case, really, of technical fixes just getting swamped by deeper systemic issues, and that's what you want to unpack today. We've looked at a working paper that really boils it down. It identifies five, maybe four or five really complex, interconnected reasons why this problem is so stubborn. Think of this as a shortcut to understanding just how deep this challenge runs.
Right, a shortcut through the smog, so to speak. Let's start with maybe the most obvious one, the sheer numbers game. Delhi is a megacity. We're talking over 20 million people. That scale alone must dilute any policy wins.
Absolutely. It's a huge factor. You bring in cleaner cars, cleaner fuel,
Mm.
but then you just add more cars, more activity. The growth just eats up the benefits. But, the really surprising detail here is the public transport gap. Delhi needs something like 15,000 buses for a city its size. Guess how many it actually operates? Fewer than 6,000.
Wow, less than half of what's needed.
Exactly. So what happens? People are forced onto private vehicles. There are over 12 million registered private vehicles in Delhi. 12 million. That scale just overwhelms everything else.
So the CNG mandate for that small fleet of buses, it's kind of like a drop in the ocean if you don't have enough buses in the first place.
Pretty much. And it gets worse in winter. When it gets cold, say below 15 Celsius, people need heating.
Mm.
And maybe 15% of the population, they resort to burning stuff, biomass, waste, whatever they can find. And this happens right when the air is stagnant, pollution gets trapped. Lowest dispersion rates.
Okay, so scale plus a massive infrastructure deficit. That leads into the second point, right? The landlocked issue, Delhi's geography.
Yes, this is crucial. Delhi isn't an island. It sits right in the middle of the Indo-Gangetic Plain. That whole region is a global pollution hotspot, home to maybe 600 million people. And Delhi shares its airshed with the wider national capital region, which is huge, like 37 times bigger than Delhi itself.
So what does that mean practically?
It means a huge chunk of Delhi's pollution doesn't even come from Delhi. The key stat is over 50%. Over half of the annual average PM 2.5 pollution originates outside the city limits.
Over half. So things like,
Things like regional power plants, dust storms blowing in, and yes, agricultural stubble burning, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away.
like
But you see, even if Delhi cleaned up its own act perfectly.
it would still be breathing in its neighbor's pollution. That's incredibly frustrating if you're trying to fix things locally. Which brings us to the third layer, the seasonal problem and this climate curveball you mentioned.
Right. We all know pollution spikes in winter, October to February usually. But there's a really weird climate link people miss. Since the 1980s, believe it or not, the average temperature in January, it's actually fallen
Oh,
by about 1.2 degrees Celsius.
Colin. With climate change, you expect warming, not cooling.
Exactly. It's counterintuitive for the region.
Right.
But this localized or perhaps regional winter cooling trend, it does something specific. It increases the demand for heating. Remember that biomass and waste burning we talked about? It makes it worse right when the weather conditions, low wind, low mixing height, are already perfect for trapping pollution near the ground.
So the climate itself is kind of conspiring to make the winter pollution worse, a structural cooling effect. Okay, but when you hear about Delhi pollution in the news, especially internationally, they tend to focus on one thing, which is our fourth point, the blame game.
Ah, yes, the media misdirect. It's almost always transport, isn't it? Cars, buses, traffic jams, that's the image. But when you look at the actual science, the source apportionment studies, they tell a different story. Transport usually accounts for, well, somewhere between maybe 10% and at most 30% of the annual PM 2.5 load.
Only 10 to 30%, so what's the rest?
It's the less visible stuff. The constant year-round sources, household fuels for cooking and heating, burning waste, construction dust, industrial emissions. These are often the bigger slices of the pie, but they don't make headlines as easily.
And the media focus doesn't match that data.
Not really. Studies show something like over 70% of the media coverage zooms in on really short seasonal events. Think Diwali firecrackers, which is like one night, maybe a few days, and those 3 intense weeks of post-harvest stubble burning in neighboring states. They're dramatic, they're visible, easy targets. But focusing only on them obscures the everyday structural failures in, say, waste management or energy supply that pollute the air all year long.
Right, so focusing on smog towers or air purifiers, it feels like treating a symptom, not the cause, just localized relief, really. So if the problem is this layered, this complex, what's the actual path forward?
Well, it's clear that just trying to vacuum the air locally isn't the answer. That won't scale. The only sustainable solution is cutting emissions at the source, across all sources,
Simultaneously.
which points directly towards needing regional cooperation, not just Delhi acting alone.
Okay, so that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? A challenge for everyone listening, really. Urban growth isn't stopping. Not in Delhi, not across that whole Indo-Gangetic plain. It's inevitable. So the big question is, how do you move beyond these fragmented, often reactive policies? How do you actually design the infrastructure, the transport networks, the energy systems, the waste management in a way that structurally locks the entire region, all 600 million people, into a low-emission future?
Exactly. Thinking regionally, acting regionally. That coordinated effort across the whole airshed has to be the goal. It promises far, far greater returns than Delhi just trying to fight physics and its neighbors on its own.